The opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, or owners of WMRD or its advertisers. Hello and welcome to the Oath Keeper Show, a collection of rants, raves, personal observations, and insights on current events, social issues, and things that just don't pass the common sense test. I am the Oath Keeper, and here's today's topic. I've often wondered what the passing of time could do for people. There's the expression that says time heals all wounds and all of that, but I'm really shocked, surprised, stunned, amazed, any of those type of words that you can use when I look at the situation where the Democrats, 8 years ago, back in 2005, they were screaming, ranting, raving, railing against the nuclear option. Harry Reid spoke against it. Hillary Clinton spoke against it. Senator Barack Hussein Obama railed against it. None of these guys wanted it because the nuclear option would take the filibuster off the table. The way things stand, the way that our founding fathers designed the system to be, you had to have a specific majority. Now, with 50 states and 2 senators from each state, that majority that you have to break a filibuster is 60 votes. If the other side, if the minority or the other side, or however you want to term it, if they can come up with 41 votes, then they can filibuster. They can delay this proceeding, they can delay this appointment, they can delay whatever it is they need to delay. In this case, the Democrats want to do away with that. They want to initiate the nuclear option, which means they only have to come up with 51 votes, a simple, basic majority. The funny thing about it is, 2005, when the Democrats were blocking George W. Bush's judicial nominees, Harry Reid, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, they were against the nuclear option. But now, 2013, now they're the majority. Now they want to give a rubber stamp to all the appointments that Obama makes. They want the simple majority for that. See, here's the thing. In politics, you have a process that goes on where somebody's nominated for a position and they go into a vetting process, or they're supposed to go into a vetting process where they get looked into their previous, let's take Sonia Sotomayor, for instance. She went through, and wonderfully and thankfully for Tennessee, we had Lamar Alexander, who went ahead and voted for her and passed her to the Supreme Court. And I emailed Mr. Alexander, and I asked him why he voted to pass Sonia Sotomayor as a Supreme Court justice. And his reply to me was essentially, well, to have voted against her simply because she was Obama's choice would have been wrong. So I emailed him back and I said, well, what about the fact that she's a radical member of La Raza? Would that make a difference? Would that be something worthy of not passing her to the Supreme Court? Would a person that would willfully and intentionally and by their past behavior say that they would not abide by the oath to support and defend the Constitution, would that not be something that gets your attention and maybe you want to look at that just a little bit before you vote for him? And I'm still waiting for a response to that email. He has yet to this day to email me back with any kind of an excuse of why he basically bent America over and allowed a radical member of La Raza to be in the Supreme Court of the United States. What does La Raza want? Well, La Raza wants a bunch of things, but amongst some of the things that they want is they want Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico to go back to Mexican control. They want that to go back to being Mexico. The stupidity in that logic is the Mexican government gave Texas their freedom. This group wants to undo what the Mexican government agreed to do. This would be a lot like having an organization come to being in this country that wants to give the original 13 colonies back to the British. The British conceded control. They said, you're your own country. You win. You are your own country. You self-govern yourself. The concept that somebody would then turn around years later and go, well, no, our group's goal is to make sure that the original 13 colonies go back to control of England. That would be asinine. And yet we have somebody that is a member of a group that wants exactly that type of situation done in the form of Sonia Sotomayor. Not only did Lamar Alexander let his constituents down when he voted for her, then he comes up with this weak excuse to have voted against her simply because she was Obama's choice would have been wrong. Here's another problem we have. We have Elena Kagan, who replaced John Paul Stevens on the Supreme Court. How she got confirmed by the Senate, I really don't know. Here's why her passing to the Supreme Court is such a messed up thing. When Obamacare went before the Supreme Court to determine whether it is a legitimate law, Elena Kagan sat in on the case, and that was a direct violation of judicial protocol. Elena Kagan helped write Obamacare. She had no more right to sit as a Supreme Court justice and hear the legality of that case any more than the man in the moon. She had no right to sit in on it and be there. None. But she's a liberal, as is clearly Sotomayor. So now we got some more federal judges that Obama wants. He can't catch Congress on what he calls a break. So he can't just appoint these guys without one of the other tiers of our form of government saying, wait a minute, you can't just appoint these people. We have to vote on it. So what happens then? Now Harry Reid is all about the nuclear option. He's all for it. He's frothing at the mouth to make sure that all he needs is 51 votes, and then he can stop the Republicans from preventing more liberal judges into the system, a rubber stamp for the Obama administration that he can do anything he wants to. And I'm telling you right now, this is where and this is how this situation is going to bite Harry Reid and the Democrats right smack square where they sit. They're going to get their 51-vote nuclear option. They no longer have to come up with 60 votes. They merely have to come up with 51. Well, here's what happens. 2014 is around the bend, and contrary to what a lot of people may think, there are a number of Democrats out there that are not going to be stupid enough to vote Democrat again next election, because they're going to remember, you guys are the one that passed this thing. It was supposed to be all kinds of great, warm, fuzzy, and it's a big, cold, prickly, and it is not anything at all what people want. Folks, there are less than 150,000 people, less than 1/2% of the complete population of the United States has enrolled in Obamacare, and I have heard one person claim that he is actually paying less now than what he was paying before and has better coverage at a better rate. And I have to call into question this guy's veracity, because none of the other things that he's discussed, none of the other conversations I've had with him, has he made any sense. He makes comments like the reason the United States Postal Service loses $8 billion a year is because of the Tea Party. The Tea Party didn't exist at the time when the U.S. Postal Service started losing money. They didn't exist. Not as an entity. As individuals, they did. But he wants to blame the Tea Party for it. Why? Because that's what he's being told by the mainstream media. The Tea Party's the one that does it. He turns around and he wants to argue, well, the Republicans shut the government down. No, they didn't. Barack Hussein Obama said, I will shut the government down before I will negotiate with Republicans. After that statement, there is no way any logical person, any person with 2 functioning brain cells in their head, could come to the conclusion that it was the Republicans that shut the government down. But this guy's going to argue that, and he's also going to try to convince me that he's got a great deal. He's not concerned about the fact that the website isn't fully functional. He doesn't care about the fact that there are security gaps in it. He doesn't care about the fact that, according to Catherine Sebelius, some of these navigators may actually be felons that were convicted of identity theft. But yet Harry Reid and the Democrats want to give a rubber stamp to Obama. And as I said, this is where it's going to bite them. The Democrats have seen this. And they're not going to vote party line in the 2014 elections. I see the Republicans, or what I want to call the conservatives, taking over in the Senate. So they'll control the House, they'll control the Senate. Obama will be a lame duck president, and a lot of this foolishness, a lot of this wasteful spending of money will go away. But here's what has to happen in the Republican Party for people like Harry Reid to really regret the harvest that the Democrats are going to reap from the seeds that they've sown. If the Republican Party foolishly and ignorantly decides they're going to run Chris Christie in 2016, they will lose a lot of their support. Their base will be gone. Because if it came down to voting for Hillary Clinton, the self-acknowledged socialist, or Chris Christie, which is like, socialism light, then I will write in a vote of none of the above. That's how I will cast my vote if the Republicans run Christie. I will write in none of the above. But let's say that the Republicans do get their act together, and a large number of Democrats don't really like the fact that they were lied to and screwed over by their own party, and they vote for the other guy. So in these different elections where these Democrats are up for re-election, the Republicans are going to have to run somebody pretty strong. In South Carolina, I'm really happy to see that somebody's running against Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, John McCain, these are a couple of other guys that just are no longer in sync with the core, the majority of the Republican conservatives that are out there. They're just not. John McCain, and I have to worry about this guy, because one day he's just as in bed with Obama as the mainstream media is, and the next day it's like he's bipolar or something. The next day he's at their throat. In another show, in a future show, I will discuss why I think term limits are a phenomenal idea. But if you're wondering if term limits would be a good idea, I really have to show you people like Dianne Feinstein, like Nancy Pelosi, like Harry Reid, like John McCain, like Lindsey Graham. Then what happens is that the Republicans will take over. The Democrats will then be unhappy because they were the ones that turned around and did the nuclear option, the 51 vote. No longer as our founding fathers wanted it, the percentages that our founding fathers set up. The new ones that the new people want to set up, we're going to do those, and 51 votes all they need. And from that point, as I said, Barack Obama becomes a lame duck, and for the rest of the time that Obama's in office, none of his socialist agenda will be accomplished. I mean, he'll have some help from some of the previous mentioned rhinos. He'll have some support from them. Then at some point there will be the whole who's going to run in 2016. And I'm telling you, the Republicans, the conservatives have a very good shot at taking control of the Senate and the House in 2014, and it would be a travesty of the highest magnitude for them to waste that great victory by running someone like Chris Christie in the 2016 presidential election. Clearly, the exception to this would be the creation of a third party that ran a strong, solid conservative that would attract the people that are tired of the Democrat Party but don't like the fact that the Republicans can't get their act together either. You've been listening to the Oath Keeper Show on Retro Country Bear 94.5 in Maynardville, Tennessee. The opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, or owners of Bear 94.5 or its advertisers. You can also read my column in the Polygraph newspaper, available in most places around the tri-state area. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.